Hi, and welcome back to our kitchen. Today I got a fabulous comfort food for you. I made Salisbury steaks, and that's an old recipe from the day, which you just basically used hamburger, ground beef, and they would dress it up with some gravy and probably actually put, like I'm going to do, some seasonings in it and made it kind of between a hamburger and a meatloaf with gravy. So I have it on the stove right now. Let me show you how I made it. First we have to get the hamburger meat ready first. And the reason behind that is whatever we put in it, we want it to sit for about 10 minutes to absorb the flavor before we do anything else. So I'm going to do the hamburger first, and then we'll do the gravy after I'm done here. Well, first of all, I've got 2 pounds of hamburger. Most of the recipes call for 1.5, so even if you have 1 pound, that'll work. So I'm going to start putting stuff in here. My hands got all slimy, but I'm going to add some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to wipe these off after I'm done here. And that's about 1 tablespoon. And then I have some Dijon mustard, my favorite ingredient. And we're going to do about, I don't know what measurement this spoon is. It's a soup spoon. That looks like about 2 teaspoons. Let's just go with 2 teaspoons of mustard. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of the ketchup, estimated. And then I have 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I get a tablespoon of dried parsley. I get this at the grocery store. It's freeze dried. And if you have fresh, that's even better. No salt. I salted the meat a little bit before we started. Just maybe a pinch. And then this is going to be our binder today. And what this is minced dried onion. And I get this from Sam's Club. It's one of my favorite ingredients. And because we're not using any breadcrumbs today, I'm going to put in a couple tablespoons of the onion instead of breadcrumbs. I think I'm going to do a video on different binders you can use instead of breadcrumbs, and even I don't like gluten-free breadcrumbs, so I'll do a video on that, tell you all the different stuff you can use that is in your house if you run into a situation where you don't have any breadcrumbs or binders. I'm going to use 2 eggs, and most of the recipes call for 1, but this is also a binder. This is to help the minced onions along a little bit because of the liquid. Okay, and I'm going to mix this all in. I'm going to use my hand. It's clean. I just washed it. And we'll get this mixed up. It'll take a few minutes. I do the up and over style. And when we're done here, I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to let it sit a couple minutes. Well, maybe about 10. And that'll help these onions to absorb into the hamburger and tighten it up to where I can work with it to make the patties. And then I'll go over and make the gravy. That's the best part if you ask me. And this is sort of like a fancy hamburger. It's not a meatloaf, but it's got a lot of stuff in it that meatloaf would have. So, yeah, we're just going to name it a fancy hamburger. I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to go over and get the pan and everything ready for the gravy. And we'll be back. Okay, we're going to try to make these into quarter pounders. I haven't figured out how many cups that is, but I'm going to just wing it. Notice how they've come together. They're more able to form than they were before. Get them on the plate. I don't know about you, but I grew up with TV dinners. And one of the most popular TV dinner was the Salisbury steak. And, you know, when it comes down to it, they weren't too bad. And of course, being a kid, you didn't know the difference. But they weren't too bad at all. And the convenience was there to where even the kids could make their own, the teens could make their own dinner by popping them in the oven. And I believe at that time we didn't have microwaves yet. Yeah, gasp. Yeah, we didn't have anything like we have today. The TV might have had like 5 channels at the most. And it signed off at midnight. So if you were one of these night owls that stayed up late to watch TV, whatever was on, it wasn't very good. I mean, I remember the Ed Sullivan Show and all that, but that was on earlier so families could sit around and watch it. Yeah, you got signed off at midnight. So a lot of people learned to read a lot of books. If you were a night owl, that's what you did, you read. And then of course you can look and see what it is today with the everything at your fingertips. With the kids, we used to have to be channel changers for the older folks. The knob always needed to be turned. So they'd send us up there to change the channels. And so that was our job being a kid. One of them. No, you know, we had a lot of fun growing up. We weren't distracted by the things that kids are distracted by now. I'm going to go ahead and get the pan ready for the gravy and probably resize these a little bit. Okay, what we're going to do first is to brown the Salisbury steaks on both sides and get it like a sear going on to where we're going to be cooking the rest of them. We're going to be cooking the rest of it in our gravy when it's done, but we just need to get that little bit of sear on the outside of our burgers. Now I put in a couple tablespoons of my plant-based butter. If you're not dairy-free, you can use real butter. And then I have some bacon grease here to give it flavor. I've got my pan on medium heat. It's an electric stove, so I got it on 7. And I'm going to start cooking these, I call them burgers. I'm going to start cooking them up. I just need to wait till it gets nice and hot. Okay. There we go. One more. I'm going to do one more. The other 2 I'll do right after this. Okay, I'm going to let them cook. I'll be back to show you when I turn them. Okay, we want to turn them now. How can I tell? I keep looking at the bottom of this piece of meat here. And when I go like this, I got to make sure that they don't fall apart, and I don't want to slop oil all over myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it and turn it towards the edge of the pan. There we go. Okay, we got to get this other side brown, and we'll be right back. Okay, here's the second batch of my burgers. Now you notice that they got this black stuff on them. That's not burnt. That's the residual from all the meat cooking in here, so don't panic. I've got them all on paper plates here. Cameraman Paul's going to get rid of the extra grease for me. I want a little bit left in there. So he's going to take it now. Now we have to cook our onions. I'm going to add some more bacon grease. Just a little bit here. I'm going to have to make more bacon grease. And let me swish it around. Now if you see these black pieces in here, we want that. That's flavor. So I'm going to put my onions in there. Now I left the burner on while he was doing that because I knew that I was going to have a hot pan for my onions. And I sliced the onions in thin slices. And I'm going to cook them, and they'll be all brown looking and goody looking. Is that a word, goody looking? We'll let these go a little bit. Just about a minute or two. Get a start on the onions. Now I have some mushrooms. I've got sliced white mushrooms. And they're already washed. I'm going to put them in there. That guy didn't get sliced. Oh well. Okay, I'm going to cook this down for a little bit and then we'll add more stuff. Okay, this is what we have when the mushrooms and onions cook down. Now, going back to the bacon grease I used, I failed to tell you what other alternatives you can use instead of bacon grease. I was just excited about it, I guess. You can use your butter, plant-based butter, regular butter. If you're not dairy-free, you can use vegetable oil, you can use olive oil, any kind of, I would say grease or oil that you have on hand or you want to use. Okay, this is what we have. I tried to make sure that the pieces of mushroom were on the bottom of the pan in between the onions. So we're going to start adding other stuff now. First of all, we're going to add some garlic. And I have minced garlic here in a jar. I'm going to add a tablespoon. Now that's probably too much for a lot of people, but we really like garlic. And then I want to add some basil, about a teaspoon of that. Let me get this garlic going. You only want to cook garlic for like a minute before you add other things. I'm going to go with a teaspoon and a half of basil. This is dried basil. And I'm going to put about a teaspoon of dried thyme. If you have fresh, that's even better. I'm going to add some pepper to it. We're seasoning the vegetables is what we're doing. I'm going to hold back on the salt until I taste the gravy, because the Worcestershire sauce and other things have salt in them. Speaking of which, here we go with this. Make sure you get gluten-free Worcestershire sauce. And one of the brands is Lee and Perrins, like this. I want some more Dijon. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of Dijon in here. And we have a half cup of wine. Now this is Marsala. That's what I keep on hand in case I want to make chicken Marsala. Mix that up. Here we go with more ketchup. We're going to add about a large tablespoon of ketchup. And then I have beef broth. And this is 2 cups. I need 3. Now I wanted to show you Swanson has come out with a beef broth that is gluten-free. That's cool, because it was like a, especially beef broth, trying to find a gluten-free was terrible. They all had that anodized yeast in it, which is made out of barley, and it was hard. So I forgot to put the flour on the mushrooms, and yeah, you'll forget stuff. Don't worry, you can save it. This is gluten-free flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons. I'm going to sprinkle it over like this. Now I may get some globs because I didn't do it. I didn't put it on the mushrooms. This is to thicken it up. Cross your fingers. Let me see if I'm going to have lumps. Doesn't look like it. Maybe just some that I got to get in there. Yeah, I think we did pretty good. If you have lumps, just break them up. We're going to bring this to a boil. What else did I forget to put in there? Nothing. Looks like I'm doing good. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil. I'm going to let it thicken a little bit. Then I'm going to taste it for salt. Okay, let me taste this. See if we have enough salt. Seems to. I mean, if you want to put salt and pepper on your hamburger, then you can put it on at the table. So now we're going to put these into the gravy. I hope I can get them all in there. They've shrunk a little bit from the beginning. Whoops, this one's breaking apart. Oh well. There we go. And we want to take the gravy and spoon it over the top of the meat. Now I'm going to put a lid on this. I'm going to bring it down to simmer because it's boiling right now. I'm going to bring it down, and on this stove I have to put it on 2 to keep it simmering. Now what you want to do is every 10 minutes or so, baste it with the gravy. We're going to cook it for 40 minutes. And that'll bring the meat that we only browned on the outside, it'll cook it on the inside. So I'll be back when I'm done. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is an old vintage go-to comfort food for back in the day. I've got the finished product here, and I'm going to taste it and let you know what it tastes like. The meat's real tender from letting it boil or bubble on the stove for 40 minutes. Let me get some potatoes. Potatoes and of course corn. That is good. I hope you give it a try. I hope you like my video to where you could subscribe. Just push the subscribe button and then the thumbs up. I'll talk to you later. Bye.